When I decide I hate my tattoos, I'm probably gonna peel my skin off and sneak into your bedroom and sew it onto you.
What's up, everybody? I'm Finn McKenty. This is the Punk Rock MBA, and today we're here to talk about a genre that has gone from hated to loved, back to hated again, more times than I can count, the somewhat troubled marriage of rap and rock. In the beginning, it was somewhat of a novelty with songs like Walk This Way, literally breaking down the walls between rap and rock. But by the late 90s and early 2000s, it was everywhere, with people like Kid Rock blowing up, and every metal band from Slipknot to Limp Bizkit to Machine Head, adding rap parts and a DJ to their lineup. And to put it mildly, with a few exceptions, critics definitely did not like it. Nu metal was easily the most hated genre of rock since hair metal, I think largely because a lot of rock fans didn't want rap in their rock. And now things have really come full circle, with one rapper after the next making a rock album, from Lil Yachty to MGK to Lil Wayne, which again were mostly, well, let's just say not well received. And for as big as it was back in the day, these days, rap rock is a genre that you really don't hear about at all anymore, which is a far cry from the 2000s when it was absolutely everywhere. So what happened that made rap rock go extinct almost overnight? And what about the new wave of artists like Trippie Redd, Ghostmane, and Lil Uzi Vert who are bringing rap and rock together in all kinds of new, different ways? Well, I've got a few ideas, and those are the questions that I will try to answer in this video. But first, if you haven't, please check me out on Twitch. I'm streaming twice a week from 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and there's a link to that in the description of this video. And really quick, before we go any further, have you checked out my Patreon? Patrons get early access to all my main channel videos and my podcasts. I also do giveaways sometimes. For example, I just gave away a pair of these Eargasm earplugs. And if you want me to review your music, there's a way to do that as well. All you gotta do is join at the $10 and up level. Then every month I do a call for submissions. If you want me to review something, all you gotta do is drop it in the comments of that post. Then I will review it live on Twitch and post it on Patreon for everyone to see. So if that sounds cool, hit the link in the description of this video, and I appreciate your support. And to really answer the questions that I asked a minute ago, we need to start at the very beginning. Rap and rock sort of started flirting, I would say around the mid-80s, with probably the first well-known example of that being Run DMC and Aerosmith's Walk This Way in 1986. And a few months later, Fight for Your Right and No Sleep Till Brooklyn by the Beastie Boys. And these songs turned a lot of heads when they came out because back then, people thought that rap and rock might as well be from different planets. In hindsight, obviously that was kind of ridiculous, but to be honest, for the most part, that was mostly true. Rap was still a pretty new thing in the mid-80s, and most rock fans didn't really care about it, much less like it or listen to it, but I think that these songs did get a lot of rock fans interested in rap in a way that they probably weren't before. And that trend really just continued throughout the 80s. There was also the funk metal trend of the late 80s with bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Faith No More breaking out into mainstream success. But I think really the next big development in this fusion of rap and rock came in 1991 with the release of Bring the Noise by Public Enemy and Anthrax.
How low can you go? Death row? What a brother, no, once again, back here.
And to me, this song is one of the first times where it really started to feel organic, like a true collaboration. Don't get me wrong, Walk This Way was definitely a cool song, but it felt a little bit like a novelty to me, and sort of like two halves of this thing that didn't quite fit together, which to be fair is totally understandable because it was one of the first experiments in combining these two genres. But Bring the Noise felt very natural. Anthrax had a sense of groove that sort of reminded me of funk or hip hop, and Chuck D's vocals actually fit really well because they almost had kind of like this hardcore vibe. But maybe the first example of what I would consider a truly great rap rock band was Rage Against the Machine's first album in 1991.
Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses.
And if you take a step back, it's actually crazy to think that this album came out only 5 years after Walk This Way, because it just sounds so fresh and modern even today. The band's rhythm section had that super tight funk kind of groove. Tom Morello's guitar playing is obviously out of this world, and I'm not sure if it was conscious or not, but sort of sounded like a lot of the things that a DJ might do. And Zach felt like he was really equal parts rock vocalist and rapper. Another landmark moment was the soundtrack for the movie Judgement Night, which came out in 1993. It had 11 songs in total, and each one of them was a collaboration between a rock band and a rapper. For example, Living Colour and Run DMC, Helmet and House of Pain, Slayer and Ice-T, and my personal favorite, Onyx and Biohazard. And to me, a lot of those songs honestly weren't great. For example, the Mudhoney and Sir Mix-a-Lot song, in my opinion, is especially rough. But still, it was really cool that they at least tried it in the spirit of experimentation. And even though the movie was pretty forgettable, the soundtrack made a big impression on a lot of people. And so it felt like after this came out, it really opened the floodgates to this sort of collaboration. My personal favorite band of this era is Downset from LA. Back in the 90s, my three favorite things in the entire world were hardcore, rap, and graffiti, and Downset put all three of those things together in a way that just felt super authentic and natural.
Wrapping up in LA, you can't act stupid and play. Striking up in the wrong hood could mean your last day.
But with all of that being said, up until this point, I would say that rap rock was really kind of a niche thing. By this point, it wasn't really a novelty like it was in the 80s, but it wasn't necessarily common either. What really made the rap rock genre blow up was the nu metal explosion of the late 90s. And a lot of people think of nu metal and rap metal as the same thing, which I don't personally really agree with, because there's a lot of nu metal bands, for example, Static X and Deftones, that don't really have any rap elements, but there's certainly a lot of overlap between rap metal and nu metal. And without getting too far into the entire history of nu metal, because I already have quite a few videos about that, I look at this as really being the golden age of rap rock. Basically, this is when rock and metal artists took what the early pioneers like Faith No More, Rage Against the Machine, and the Beastie Boys did and just ran with it. Korn's first album is really kind of the unofficial beginning of nu metal, and although it doesn't actually have rapping or a DJ on it, it somehow just kind of feels like rap rock. For example, the outro to the song Blind, where the guitars are mimicking the song Lick a Shot by Cypress Hill. And if Korn started that, Limp Bizkit took it much, much further. I'm not sure that they were the first nu metal band to have a DJ. Maybe they were, I don't know. But regardless, they most certainly popularized it. They brought on DJ Lethal from House of Pain, and Fred Durst did as much rapping as he did singing. And what I personally was really impressed by was on their second album, Significant Other, when they collaborated with Method Man at the time when Wu-Tang Clan were basically the most respected rappers on the planet. Korn also did a song with Ice Cube, and all of that culminated in the Family Values tours of 1998 and 1999, which included Korn, Limp Bizkit, Mobb Deep, Run DMC, Seven Dust, and many more. These tours put some of the best artists in rap and rock together on the same stage. And remember, this was only 7 years after Bring the Noise came out. That is how far the genre came in such a short time. By this point, these kind of crossovers were officially no longer a novelty, and they showed that rap rock had come a long, long way. Somehow, by the late 90s, it felt totally natural and normal for Mobb Deep, Rammstein, and Korn to be on the same stage together. Although I definitely wouldn't call Slipknot rap metal, they did bring a lot of new ideas to the table. For example, combining these riffs that were very obviously influenced by death metal with a DJ, and even a little bit of rapping on songs like Spit It Out. And whether you like him or not, we definitely have to talk about Kid Rock here, who actually came up as a rapper in the early 90s.
It started out when I was 6, just telling dirty jokes. My mother overheard and walked my mouth out with soap.
But he really blew up in the late 90s with songs like Ba Ba Da Ba and American Badass, where he combined his early rap stuff with a lot more rock elements. And as with any other trend, there were also quite a few examples of rock bands adding rap elements where it, didn't work out quite so well. For example, the Metallica Ja Rule song, which is honestly so bad that I'm surprised they released it. But I think by far the most important name in this whole era was Linkin Park, who came out in 2000, quickly became the biggest selling rock band of their whole generation, with a sound that was really kind of like equal parts rap, rock, and electronic.
I know. time is a valuable thing.
And what was really notable about Linkin Park to me is that with a lot of the bands before them, it really felt like a rock band with rap kind of bolted onto it. But with Linkin Park, it never felt that way. I think because their rapper Mike Shinoda was also the main songwriter for the band. And in a huge sign of credibility for Linkin Park specifically, but really just for rap rock in general, Jay-Z asked them to collaborate on an EP with him called Collision Course, where they did mashups of songs by both artists. For example, Lying From You by Linkin Park with Dirt Off Your Shoulder by Jay-Z.
Trying to hustle some things that go with the punch.
Linkin Park's sound and success felt like this is what the entire previous decade was building up to. Rap and rock had been flirting for years, and it was obvious that there was something there, but I think Linkin Park was the first band to like really perfect that. And what I find really interesting is that these days, bands like Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park are pretty much universally loved. At the time, that was definitely not the case. From the rock side of things, rap rock and nu metal were both pretty much despised by the media and sort of hardcore metal fans and written off as basically just trendy garbage. And from the rap side of things, rap rock and nu metal were basically just ignored. As far as I recall, hip hop media like The Source and XXL basically didn't even acknowledge them at all. I guess because they saw it as part of rock culture and therefore something they didn't need to cover. Which really just showed that although a lot of progress had been made, there were still a lot of barriers between rap and rock. With all of that being said, the nu metal genre kind of ran out of steam by the mid-2000s, when the genre just became incredibly oversaturated, and the original generation of fans kind of aged out of it, and that original wave of rap rock kind of died along with it. And aside from a few moments here and there, like Lil Wayne's weird rock phase, it seemed like that was that for rap rock. Like basically a cool little experiment that happened for a while, and then we all said that was cool and moved on. But to the surprise of pretty much everybody, including me, after about a decade in hibernation, rap rock came back in a big way, but in a very, very different form than what we were expecting. I first started seeing this new wave of rap rock fusion around 2014, when I discovered artists like Bones and Suicide Boys, who were very clearly kids that grew up on rock and metal, but made music that sounded like forgotten songs by 3 6 Mafia that were unearthed off of some obscure tape from 1992, but combined with the aesthetics and just sort of overall attitude of metal. Like, I still remember the first time I heard Bones' song Corduroy, with him wearing a Burzum shirt, and I later found out the main melody in that song was also a Burzum sample, and I was just like, who the fuck is this kid, and what in the world is this?
Real tree came up with the car hard blade. Came from the place where the hatred was made.
Because the idea of combining like Burzum and 3 6 Mafia, that's just not a thing that I would have ever imagined in my wildest dreams, and yet here it was. And so I went down the rabbit hole and found out that there was a whole scene of artists like that in what people had started to call emo rap and trap metal. For example, Lil Peep, Scarlord, Ghostmane, and my personal favorites, City Morgue. And what I sort of realized was going on here is that I grew up in an era in which rap and rock really didn't overlap, meaning that if you liked one, you kind of really weren't supposed to like the other one. But unlike me, these artists grew up in the 2000s when it was totally okay to be into both, and their music and aesthetics reflected that. And so that is how you get someone like Ghostmane doing Memphis-style rap songs about Euronymous and wearing a Deicide shirt. And so I think you can kind of think of that whole side of things as rock kids making rap songs, but there was another wave over the past couple years of essentially the opposite of that, which was rappers making rock-influenced music. For example, Juice WRLD, Trippie Redd, Lil Uzi Vert, and maybe most obviously XXXTentacion, who really brought things full circle by sampling Slipknot. And there's also a whole wave of artists that I would say are kind of like the new incarnation of really like your classic 2000s rap rock, like Falling in Reverse and Fever 333, as well as other more experimental stuff like Polyphia's first album, where they collaborated with people like Snot. And if you want to get really, really adventurous on just the bleeding edge of this stuff, you can check out Cemetery, who kind of combines Chief Keef style drill rap with black metal and I guess harsh noise. And personally, I think this new generation pulls it off quite a bit better than the artists of the 90s or the 2000s did, because with a lot of that older stuff, to be honest, it feels kind of forced. Usually, like they just had someone rap over a rock song. Whereas with this generation, what they're doing to me feels like something that's neither rap nor rock. It's really just a whole new genre that's kind of its own thing. And as far as the reaction from fans and critics goes, it's kind of the same story as with nu metal 20 years ago. Most of the rock and metal fans reject this stuff because it doesn't sound like what they were used to hearing 20 years ago. For example, every time I've talked about it over the past few years, they hate it, and I expect that I will get plenty of negative comments on this video too. Although the good news is that the media on the rap side of things has embraced it a lot more, especially artists like Lil Uzi Vert and XXXTentacion, which I think is a big part of why they are a lot more popular than artists like Bones and Ghostmane, who sort of come from the rock side of things and really have a hard time getting press. So really, although people may think of rap rock as something that died in the 2000s, when nu metal fell out of favor, the truth is that it's actually been going strong for the last 10 years or so. It just looks and sounds a lot different than it did back in the days of Limp Bizkit and Rage Against the Machine.
Stay delusional, thinking they offended me. Paid 100 million, saying fuck you to the industry.
All right, my friends, that does it for this video. As always, please let me know what you think in the comments. Also, I want to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon, especially those of you who support at the True Cult level or above. Patrons get access to all my podcasts and videos early. I do giveaways. I have members-only channels in my Discord. There's also a way to have me review your music. So if any of that sounds cool, hit the link in the description of this video. And with that, I'm going to sign off for now, but I will see you next time.